Totally.
Okay, so thank you so much, everybody, for coming along. My name is Alice Hart-Davis. I'm a journalist, and I specialise in writing about non-surgical cosmetic procedures and skincare. And I run a website called The Treatments Guide, which is all about explaining these procedures, what they do, how they work, and pointing people towards the kind of people who will get really great results for them, the great practitioners, people like Nina, who is one of our listed practitioners. And you are an expert in aesthetics. You have a lovely clinic in the Brompton Road. It's called facial sculpting, which is very much what you do. And Nina has a real knack of getting lovely, natural-looking results in people's faces. You do that with a very holistic approach, minimal tweaks, and only where they're needed. And what we're going to talk about today is skin tightening, and specifically about a skin tightening device called Allure, which is a new one from a company called InMode. And now InMode are the people behind Morpheus 8, so we know they make great devices. This is their new thing. Nina has it in her clinic and is very skilled at using it already. So we want to know all about that. But before we get on to Allure, could we talk a bit about skin tightening? And when we think about skin tightening, it's because we start wanting it because we're seeing slackening in our skin. And what kind of age does that tend to happen for people?
Thank you so much, Alice, for the lovely intro, and hi everyone, good evening. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate your time. So I would say, Alice, it's such an interesting question because I would say the main factor on skin sagging or skin laxity really depends on the genetics more than the age. However, if I really have to say a specific age, what I'm seeing in my clinic is around the age of 35, 40, okay. My clients are starting to come and complaining about that just a little bit of lash in the lower face. So I would say it's around 35, 40.
Okay, and how big a concern is it for people who are coming to see you? Is this something that's starting to bother them as much as wrinkles and pigmentation? Or is it does it come in even before that? Where does it fit in the scale of concerns?
Yeah, absolutely. So I find people tend to come to see me specifically for that because either they've done the research and they know they've got some options, or they've gone to see someone else and perhaps they are not entirely satisfied with the option of doing fillers to lift the lower face. Whether maybe 10, 15 years ago when I started, we didn't have any of those incredible modalities or energy-based devices that we do have now. So we used to recommend fillers to lift the lower face. However, we now know that that's not often the best option, and fillers are incredible to fill, not the best to lift. So yeah, it's a major concern on my part.
Okay, and in terms of the face and the way it ages, keeping the skin strong and tight is really of huge benefit going forward. So it's a good thing to sort of do quite early. And what are some of the modalities that you have in the clinic, the kind of devices you have that can be useful for skin tightening?
Yeah, so I would say my favorite energy-based devices for skin tightening are Endolift, radiofrequency microneedling, HIFU, and now the new InMode Lift from InMode Allure. And of course with that it goes, my approach is very much a combination treatment, is very much holistic, so I go and recommend treatments that will tighten the skin throughout all the skin layers.
Okay, and very briefly, can you explain for people, in case they don't know, what an Endolift does, how HIFU works, etc.? Because Endolift is semi-invasive. I mean, it's invasive, semi-surgical, I often think. But could you explain what it does and where the benefits are?
Of course. So Endolift is a non-surgical laser where we use a very, very small fiber that goes underneath the skin for the length of the treatment, which could be half an hour to 50 minutes. And then we remove it. So it's the energy that goes through the fiber, through the skin, that creates an instant skin tightening. So almost like the best way to describe that is that it glues the skin to the muscle and then we remove it. So it's not a thread where nothing stays inside the skin, we do remove it. Then we've got I think that is correct, the most invasive one.
Yeah, and it's amazing because when you watch it being done, you can see the red glowing tip of the fibre moving about under the skin, and you can use it for tightening, you can use it for fat busting as well, can't
Exactly
you?
right, exactly right. That could be used just on the skin tightening setting purely, or skin tightening and fat melting as well together.
Yeah.
And I would say that is when, so obviously everybody is very different, can react very differently, but when it does work, it's extremely effective because it's an internal skin tightening. Then I do use in my practice a lot of RF microneedling and HIFU, ultrasound waves, where that is external. So lots of my patients are like, okay, I get the endolate, I do trust you, I don't want anything inside my skin. So that could be a really good option as well. And now I'm super thrilled about the Immodulate from Immodulate because it gives a really good tightening and sculpting of the jawline and of the neck with no downtime. I had it on my face, it's actually very pleasant, and I find we don't have time for downtime anymore, right? We are not patient anymore, and definitely my patients are not, and it's such a great option to get a really good result of tightening of the skin, but with no downtime.
Okay. Now, I know radiofrequency is one of your favourite things to use in treatment. Can you explain how radiofrequency works just on its own? Because it comes in various different forms, doesn't it? Like monopolar or bipolar, and they have different advantages. So what is radiofrequency doing, and how is it helping tighten the skin?
Yeah, so radiofrequency, the one I use is called Forma from Immode. So the radiofrequency essentially is a bipolar electrical current. What that does, it gives a heat to the skin. It's a very controlled heat. So that creates a controlled trauma to the skin, which instigates healing process. That healing process creates production of collagen and skin tightening. Now, one of the reasons why I love the Forma from Immode is that it's got very advanced technology that called ACE, Acquire, Control and Extend, where essentially it's super safe because once it reaches the ideal temperature for skin tightening, between 39 and 41 degrees, it cuts off. So there's no risks of overheating the skin.
Okay, and that's really important because if you drive too much heat into the skin, into the tissues, and it gets into the fat, it can melt the fat. But, and obviously in some areas that can be a benefit, but mostly in the face, you don't want to be doing that. When you have radiofrequency microneedling, you have needles going into the skin with the radiofrequency coming out of the end. That's something different altogether. And then how does the radiofrequency work in the lift with Allure?
Yeah, so we have, the Immodulate with Allure has got 3 steps. The step 1 is the Forma, which is purely the radiofrequency, and we can do it all along the jawline, the lower face, and all the neck. Step 2 is called the Mini FX, which helps.
Okay, now this is, what is this? Because this is completely different, and this is really crucial, yeah?
Exactly right. So the Mini FX is the step 2, where it's essentially it works to, the goal is to go and dissolve the submental fat. So you don't have to have it if you've got lovely jawline like you, Alice, you don't need it. But someone that has a heavier submental fat, totally. So it's got a 3 mechanism of action. Number 1 is a vacuum. So it literally, the vacuum sucks and lifts the fat cells. Then there's a radiofrequency to it, so it heats up the skin after 42 degrees, and then it releases it once it has reached the perfect temperature. So the RF, the radiofrequency in the vacuum tightens the skin. And then there's a high pulse voltage that creates, the mechanism is called electroporosis of the adipocytes, which means essentially creates holes into the fat cells. So the fat cells pours out the fat, and then in the following 3 months, the fat cells dies.
Okay, so this is really helpful for people who want something gentle, effective, that's going to tackle that double chin or jowl, but which isn't going to damage the rest of their face. How many sessions do you need with the Mini FX? Because if you do the electroporosis and you get the fat it's turned into fatty acids and it sort of seeps out of the cells, you need more than 1 session of that, don't you, to really see the results?
Yeah, exactly right. So we normally recommend anything between 4 to 6 sessions. again between 1 and 2 weeks apart. So that's ASIO.
Okay, and then there's a third crucial step to this treatment, which sounds lovely and very unusual for an aesthetic treatment. Can you tell us about that?
Agree. So the step 3, so step 1 is a form of the radiofrequency, step 2 mini effects, submental fat if there's any. Step 3 is a lymphatic and lift massage. So what that does, which is lovely, essentially is a massage throughout all the lymph nodes from the collarbone, neck, along the jawline, which helps to increase the blood flow, the oxygen, the nutrients to the skin cells, and also helps to reduce the actual swelling and helps the body to get rid of all the toxin. So actually accelerate the process to achieve a very snug jawline.
So does it help flush out some of that fat that has been released, or is that something you have to wait for the body to do by itself?
Actually, no, exactly right. So it does not move the fat.
Okay, I thought that would be too easy.
That's a really good question there. Yeah, it doesn't mobilize the fat. No, exactly. So the fat cells just die by themselves over the next 3 months, so it doesn't work on that.
So this must be a very good addition to what you already have in clinic as for the options of treating the face, tightening the skin, treating that jawline, because the under the chin area is a big concern, I know, for people of all ages, really. I'm always surprised by how many people complain to me about their jawline, or they send me pictures on, or they send me DMs on Instagram about it, saying I have a problem, and I stalk their Instagram, I say, you look lovely, I see no problem. Then they send me a side picture, and you think, okay, I begin to see. Do you get that kind of thing as well?
Absolutely. I think the side profile is something that makes people so uncomfortable if you're not happy with your side profile, and it's there all the time, it's on selfies on social media, and this is such an amazing addition because we got other nice modalities, but I think the beauty of that is that it is pleasant. I had it. It's so nice.
I was going to ask, is it comfortable?
It's so comfortable.
Okay.
It's so comfortable.
Even the mini effects bit?
Totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Even the mini effects is lovely. And there's no downtime, and you can get a good result with no downtime in a present. And I find, I don't know if it's just me, but after I had kids, I'm really bad with pain. Thankfully, I'm very vain, so I will do anything that makes me look better. But why not? If you can get great results with a lovely treatment, why not?
Okay, so who makes a good candidate for this treatment?
Honestly, everybody has skin, because you can use just, for example, the step 1 of radiofrequency, someone that wants to work as prevention, so anything from the 20s, or anyone that has initial laxity, wants to work as prevention, and a little bit of fat underneath the chin. So literally everyone, I would say, who is not suitable, which is like a smaller group, is either people that have very unrealistic expectation, and or people that have extreme laxity, extreme fat underneath the chin, and or people that want to have a lift of the muscle. I always say non-surgical treatments are fantastic to lift the skin and the fat. We can't lift the muscle for those we have to refer to surgeons.
Yeah, lovely, thank you. It must be so difficult dealing with unrealistic expectations, because I think everybody wants something these days that's basically gives you the result of a facelift, but preferably no pain and in one treatment as well. And it can't be done, can it? So, I mean, the key thing is to find a skilled practitioner like yourself who can advise what this treatment can do, what that treatment can do, and which will be appropriate. So yeah, radiofrequency, fantastic technique, and from modality, particularly good combined with these extra parts that InMode has put into this treatment. So thank you so much for explaining it all to us. If you have any questions, do shout out. We've got a minute or two, and let us know. No. Anything? No. Great. Well, you're going to be around for a minute or two afterwards, aren't you? If there's anything you'd like to ask that isn't suitable for group communication. And Nina, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alice, for having me for your questions.